What happens when one of the most famous women in the world walks onto a morning show set and decides that the rules don't apply to her? It only took one comment about the weather forecast to turn a routine interview into the most shocking meltdown in morning television history. Good Morning America's beloved meteorologist Sam Champion was doing what he does best that morning. He was standing in front of the weather map with his signature warm smile, explaining to viewers across the country what kind of day they could expect. The studio was buzzing with the usual energy. Cameras were rolling. Producers were monitoring their screens. Everything was running like clockwork. But then the schedule changed. Meghan Markle was set to appear later in the show to discuss her latest charitable initiative. She was supposed to wait in the green room like every other guest. That's how television works. There's a schedule. There's a plan. Everyone follows it. But as Sam was wrapping up his weather segment, something unusual happened. Meghan walked straight onto the set. The cameras were still on Sam. The red lights were glowing. He was live on national television. And there she was, walking right into his shot without any warning. The floor director's eyes went wide. The camera operators didn't know where to point. Sam, ever the professional, kept his composure. "And that's your forecast for this beautiful morning," Sam said, trying to wrap up smoothly despite the interruption. Meghan stood just a few feet away, her arms crossed, waiting. Sam turned to her with a polite smile. "Meghan, hi. We weren't expecting you just yet. Your segment is coming up in about 20 minutes. "I know when my segment is," Meghan replied, her voice sharp. "But I need to talk about something right now." The studio went quiet. You could feel the tension creeping in. Sam glanced at the camera, then back at Meghan. He was trapped. They were live. Millions of people were watching. "Of course," Sam said, maintaining his professional tone. "What would you like to discuss?" "I noticed you didn't mention climate change once during your entire weather report," Meghan said, stepping closer to him. "How can you stand there and talk about sunshine and temperatures without addressing the crisis that's destroying our planet?" Sam blinked. This was not how interviews worked. This was not protocol. But he stayed calm. "Meghan, we cover climate issues extensively on this show," Sam explained gently. "In fact, we have a whole segment dedicated to environmental news later today. The weather report is specifically about the daily forecast." "That's exactly the problem," Meghan shot back. "You people treat the weather like it's entertainment. Like it's something cute to chat about over coffee. Do you have any idea how privileged that sounds?" The crew members exchanged worried glances. Sam took a breath. He was one of the most respected meteorologists in the country. He had covered hurricanes, tornadoes, and natural disasters. He had reported on climate change for decades. And now he was being lectured on live television by someone who had just crashed his segment. "I understand your passion for this issue," Sam said carefully, "and I share your concerns about the environment. But right now, I was giving viewers the information they need for their day. That's my job." "Your job," Meghan repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Your job is to keep people comfortable while the world burns. Is that it?" Sam's expression shifted slightly. The smile faded just a bit. He was being attacked, on his own show, during his own segment, for doing exactly what he was supposed to do. "Meghan, I think we should continue this conversation during your scheduled interview," Sam suggested. "Robin and George can join us, and we can have a proper discussion about climate action." "Oh, so now you want to shut me down," Meghan said, raising her voice. "Is that what happens when someone speaks truth to power on this show? You just silence them?" A producer's voice crackled through Sam's earpiece, but he couldn't respond. He was stuck on camera with someone who was spiraling. "Nobody is silencing you," Sam said, his patience clearly wearing thin. "You have an interview scheduled. We have a format. We have other segments planned. There are other people who work very hard on this show." "I don't care about your format," Meghan snapped. "I care about using my platform to make a difference, something you clearly wouldn't understand." That was the line. That was the moment Sam's demeanor changed completely. He had been patient. He had been professional. He had tried to de-escalate. But being told he doesn't make a difference, being insulted on his own show, in front of his colleagues and millions of viewers, that was too much. "Meghan," Sam said, his voice firm now, no longer warm and welcoming. "I have spent 30 years in this industry. I have reported from disaster zones. I have educated millions of people about severe weather and climate science. I have raised awareness and funds for environmental causes. So please, do not stand here and tell me I don't understand making a difference." The studio went completely silent. Even the usual background noise seemed to stop. Everyone was watching this unfold in real time. Meghan's face flushed red. She was not used to being challenged like this. "How dare you speak to me that way?" she said, her voice trembling with anger. "Do you know who I am?" Sam nodded slowly. "Yes, I know exactly who you are. And right now, you're someone who is disrupting a live broadcast and disrespecting every single person who works on this show." "I'm trying to use my voice for good," Meghan insisted. "By ambushing a weather forecast?" Sam asked. "By insulting me and my colleagues? That's not activism, Meghan. That's just rude." A gasp rippled through the crew. No one could believe what they were hearing. Sam Champion, the kindest man in morning television, had just called out one of the most famous women in the world. Meghan took a step back, clearly shocked that someone had stood up to her. "You have no idea what it's like," she said, her voice getting louder. "You have no idea the pressure I'm under, the scrutiny I face every single day. I came here to do something meaningful, and you're treating me like I'm some kind of nuisance." Sam shook his head. "You're treating yourself like a nuisance, Meghan. You crashed my segment. You insulted my work. And now you're playing the victim. That's not how this works." "I am not playing anything," Meghan shot back. "I am trying to make people wake up and pay attention to what matters. Unlike you, who just smiles and points at clouds." The crew gasped again. This was getting worse by the second. Sam's jaw tightened. "I think we're done here." "We're done when I say we're done," Meghan retorted. "No," Sam said clearly. "We're done now. This is my show. This is my segment. And I'm asking you to leave the set." Meghan's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Sam said, his voice steady and calm despite the chaos. "You need to leave the set. We'll discuss whether your interview will still happen. But right now, you need to go." "You can't kick me off," Meghan said, her voice rising to a near shout. "I was invited here. I have every right to be on this show." Sam turned to look directly at the camera, then back at Meghan. "You were invited to appear during a specific segment at a specific time. You violated that agreement the moment you walked onto my set uninvited. And you continued to violate it by disrupting the show and insulting the people who work here. So yes, I absolutely can ask you to leave." "This is unbelievable," Meghan said, throwing her hands up. "This is exactly why people don't trust the media. You pretend to care about important issues, but the second someone challenges you, you shut them down." "I'm not shutting down a challenge," Sam explained, his voice getting firmer. "I'm shutting down chaos. There's a difference." A producer finally stepped onto the set, whispering something to Meghan. She shook her head violently. "No," she said loudly. "I'm not leaving. I have something to say, and America deserves to hear it." Sam looked at the producer, then back at Meghan. "Then say it during your scheduled interview, with the right hosts, in the right format, like a professional." "I am a professional," Meghan insisted. "Then act like one," Sam said simply. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Meghan's face went from red to white. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked around the studio, seeing all the crew members staring at her, seeing the cameras still recording every moment of this disaster. "You will regret this," Meghan said quietly, her voice shaking. "I doubt it," Sam replied. What I will regret is if I let you continue to hijack this show and disrespect my colleagues. So please, Meghan, leave the set." Another producer appeared, gently touching Meghan's arm. She yanked it away. "Don't touch me," she snapped. Sam took a step forward, positioning himself between Meghan and the camera. "Meghan, you have two choices. You can walk off this set with dignity right now, or security will escort you out. Either way, you're leaving." "You wouldn't dare," Meghan said. Sam pulled out his phone and started dialing. "Watch me." Meghan's eyes went wide. She looked around the studio one more time, searching for someone, anyone, who would take her side. But everyone was looking at Sam with respect and solidarity. He was their colleague. He was their friend. And he was protecting them from this chaos. "Fine," Meghan said through gritted teeth. "I'll leave. But everyone watching needs to know that this is what happens when you try to speak truth on these corporate shows. They silence you. They mock you. They kick you out." Sam lowered his phone. "No, Meghan. This is what happens when you disrespect people. When you think the rules don't apply to you. When you crash someone's segment and then play victim when they stand up for themselves." Meghan turned on her heel and started walking toward the exit, but she stopped halfway, turning back to face Sam one more time. "You're just like everyone else," she said, "scared of anyone who actually wants to make a change." Sam met her gaze steadily. "I'm not scared of change, Meghan. I'm tired of entitlement." Those words echoed through the studio. Meghan stood frozen for a moment, her face a mixture of rage and disbelief. Then, without another word, she stormed off the set. Her heels clicked loudly against the floor as she disappeared through the exit. A door slammed somewhere in the distance. The studio remained silent for several seconds. Sam stood there, collecting himself, letting his heart rate slow down. Then he turned back to the camera with a deep breath. "Well," he said, his voice returning to its usual warm tone. "That was unexpected. Let's go to commercial break." The director cut away immediately. The moment the red lights went off, the entire crew erupted. Some were applauding Sam. Others were in shock. A few were already on their phones, knowing this moment was about to explode across social media. Sam walked over to his weather map, leaning against it for support. His hands were shaking slightly. He had just stood up to one of the most famous people in the world, on live television, in front of millions of viewers, and he had no idea what would happen next. Robin Roberts rushed over to him from her anchor desk. "Sam, are you okay?" He nodded. Yeah, I'm fine. I couldn't let her do that. Not to this show. Not to you guys." "You did the right thing," Robin said, putting a hand on his shoulder. "That took real courage." George Stephanopoulos joined them. "That was one of the most insane things I've ever seen happen, live, and I've covered politics." Sam laughed despite himself. "I can't believe I just kicked Meghan Markle off the show." "You didn't kick her off," Robin corrected. "She kicked herself off by acting that way." A senior producer came rushing over, looking frazzled. "Sam, we need to talk about what just happened." "I know," Sam said. "I'm sorry if I created a problem. But she wasn't going to stop. She was completely out of control." The producer shook his head. "Don't apologize. You handled that perfectly, professionally, firmly. She was way out of line, and you protected the integrity of this show. I'm actually proud of you." Sam felt relief wash over him. He had been worried about repercussions, about whether he had overstepped, but his colleagues had his back. During the commercial break, the control room was chaos. Phones were ringing off the hook. Social media was already exploding with clips of the confrontation. The hashtags were trending within minutes. People were taking sides. Some defended Meghan, claiming she was being silenced. But the vast majority were supporting Sam, praising him for standing up to entitled behavior. When the show came back from commercial, Robin and George addressed what had happened. They backed Sam completely, explaining that all guests are expected to follow protocol and treat the crew with respect. They emphasized that Good Morning America welcomes diverse viewpoints and challenging conversations, but not ambushes and personal attacks. Sam returned to finish his weather segment like the professional he was. He didn't mention the incident again. He just did his job, smiling at the camera, giving people the information they needed to start their day. But behind the scenes, something had shifted. Sam Champion had shown that kindness doesn't mean being a pushover, that being professional doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, that even the nicest person in the room has a line that shouldn't be crossed. In the green room, Meghan's team was scrambling. They were making phone calls, trying to control the narrative, attempting to spin what had happened into something other than what it was. But the footage didn't lie. The cameras had captured everything. Her walking onto the set uninvited, her insulting Sam's work, her refusal to leave when asked, her entitled behavior and complete lack of self-awareness. Back on set, Sam wrapped up the weather forecast with his signature warmth. He thanked the viewers for watching. He wished them a great day. And then, as the show moved on to the next segment, he walked off the set to a standing ovation from the crew. People who had worked in television for decades said they had never seen anything like it. A guest completely melting down on live TV. A host standing his ground with such grace and firmness. A moment that perfectly captured the difference between someone who demands respect and someone who earns it. Sam Champion had earned it. Over 30 years of hard work, of showing up every day with kindness and professionalism, of treating everyone from the camera operators to the executives with equal respect, of doing his job with passion and integrity. And when push came to shove, when someone tried to undermine all of that, he didn't back down. He didn't get angry or lose his cool. He simply stood firm. He set a boundary. He protected his show and his colleagues. That's what leadership looks like. That's what real strength looks like. Not yelling or making demands or throwing tantrums, but calmly, clearly, standing up for what's right. The rest of the show continued without incident. The segments ran smoothly. The interviews went as planned. And by the time Good Morning America signed off for the day, the incident with Meghan Markle was already becoming legendary in television history. In the days that followed, Sam received thousands of messages of support from colleagues in the industry, from viewers across the country, from people who had dealt with entitled behavior in their own lives and were inspired by watching someone handle it so well. He didn't gloat. He didn't give interviews about what happened. He simply went back to work the next day, did his weather forecast, and treated everyone with the same kindness he always had. Because that's who Sam Champion is. Someone who believes in doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable. Someone who stands up for himself and others without being cruel or vindictive. Someone who understands that respect is a two-way street. And Meghan Markle? She learned a valuable lesson that day. That fame doesn't put you above basic courtesy. That having a platform comes with responsibility. That you can't just walk into someone else's space, disrupt their work, insult their efforts, and expect them to smile and take it. The incident became a case study in how not to conduct yourself as a guest on a television show. It became a reminder that no matter who you are or what you've accomplished, treating people with respect is non-negotiable. Sam went on to have many more years of success on Good Morning America. He continued to educate people about weather and climate. He continued to be the warm, friendly face that viewers trusted every morning. And he continued to be someone his colleagues could count on, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. The moment when he stood up to Meghan Markle became part of his legacy. Not because he was cruel or because he sought confrontation, but because when it mattered most, when someone tried to take advantage of his kindness, he showed that being nice doesn't mean being weak. He showed that you can be gentle and firm, professional and principled, kind and courageous. And that's a lesson worth remembering. In television, in work, in life. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is set a boundary. That sometimes the most professional response is saying no. That sometimes standing up for yourself and others is exactly what the moment requires. Sam Champion did all of that in just a few minutes on live television. He didn't plan it. He didn't rehearse it. He simply responded with integrity when chaos walked onto his set. And in doing so, he reminded everyone watching what real class looks like, what real professionalism looks like, what real strength looks like. It looks like staying calm under pressure, like treating people with respect even when they don't deserve it, like setting boundaries without being cruel, like protecting your colleagues and your work while maintaining your dignity. That morning on Good Morning America, millions of people witnessed something rare and powerful. They saw someone refuse to be bullied. They saw someone stand up to entitlement. They saw someone model the kind of behavior we should all aspire to. Sam Champion didn't just kick a difficult guest off his show that day. He showed the world how to handle conflict with grace, how to maintain standards without losing your humanity, and how to be strong without being harsh. And that's why, long after the shock wore off and the social media storm died down, people still remembered that moment. Not because of the drama, not because of the celebrity involved, but because of what Sam Champion represented in that moment. Decency, professionalism, courage, integrity. Those are the qualities that matter. Those are the qualities that last. And those are the qualities that Sam Champion displayed when it counted most, turning what could have been a disaster into a masterclass in how to handle yourself when someone tries to tear you down.